Ends well boxing.
Come on in.
After so much uncertainty and so much doubt, the 28th Olympics has finally come around. Over a short series of episodes, I'm going to try, document, profile, highlight each boxer and their journey to the Tokyo Games. As we follow the magnificent Boxing 7 over the next 19 days, we'll also bring you some information, some fun, some trivia, and no shortage of stories, and hopefully shine a light on a side of these fighters that you just might not have seen.
The crowd stand to the Irishman, the winner, and what a winner.
And you're welcome on in indeed. For the next 19 days, the eyes of the world will be fixed on Tokyo. 19 days of exciting, exhilarating, enthralling and emotional competition. 205 nations of all different sizes from all around the world. Over 11,000 athletes. But more importantly, after a delay of 12 months, a record-sized Team Ireland of 116 athletes, primed and ready. But of course, the focus here for Ends Well Boxing is the Magnificent Seven. Our flag bearers, Kelly Harrington and Brendan Irvine, accompanied by their teammates Kurt Walker, Emmett Brennan, Michaela and Aidan Walsh and Aoife O'Rourke, continue and carry that rampant form that saw them qualify in marauding style in the Paris qualifiers only a few short weeks ago. And if it's anything like that, anything remotely close, we are in for a sensational 19 days. In each episode, we're going to highlight a couple of the fighters, get some stories about them from their coaches, from their family members, those who have been front and centre, right by their side, throughout the uncertainty of lockdown, all the way up to boarding the plane, and now on the cusp of greatness. Each one is already enshrined in Irish sporting history, already a mammoth achievement to qualify and be forever an Olympic athlete. But who will take that step farther? Who will join the likes of Hughie Russell, Michael Carruth, Wayne McCullough, Kenny Egan, Darren Sutherland, John, the list goes on and on. So for all the twists and turns, the humps and bumps, the highs and lows, whatever it brings, we'll bring it all here on Ends Well Boxing. We'll have some past medal winners, we'll have past Olympians, current and past professional boxers who have been there right at that cold face. They know that it takes. And there's only one thing I'm going to ask, one thing. Reach out to the fighters, get behind them. Send them your messages, be it on Twitter, be it Facebook, be it Instagram, or all of the above. And just remind them, let them know that you're behind them, we're behind them every step of the way, and use the hashtag #GreenForGold. One question you're going to hear me ask most, if not all, of the guests over these couple of episodes is the magic of the Olympics. Is it still there? Is it still what it was? Is it still the greatest show on earth? For me, growing up, the Olympics was a lot of different things. It was a chance to watch sports that you would never see, really and truly. You wouldn't watch swimming, you wouldn't watch sprinting, you wouldn't watch all sorts of different sport. And I'm sure people at different points in their life have different memories, whether it's Irish sporting heroes winning medals, or maybe a little bit further afield, whether you're looking at, I can remember Ben Johnson, the 100 metres rivalries that he had, of course, with Carl Lewis, and then the ultimate controversy when he won in such emphatic style in under 10 seconds, 100 metres, and then, of course, only to be stripped because doping was my very first memory of doping in sport, something, I guess, which has never gone away. And sadly, it has visited our own shores here with some of our own athletes over the years. But I'm not going to get too deep into that at all. One thing that I've noticed over the last couple of days and weeks, with the qualifiers being so close in proximity to actually flying out to camp then for the pre-Olympics training, we haven't seen or heard much of them when they had their launch days. It's very focused, very businesslike, very secluded, which I don't think anybody can have an issue with. You hear a lot of talk in certain areas about the inexperience of this team by comparison. And when you look back at Rio 2016, that team was by far the most experienced Irish boxing team to travel to an Olympic Games, by far. In the light heavies, of course, it was Joe Ward, Michael Riley middleweight, welterweight Stephen Donnelly, lightweight Davy Oliver Joyce, bantamweight was Mick Conlon, flyweight Brendan Irvine, and light fly, of course, was Paddy Barnes. We had, of course, Katie Taylor, was the defending Olympic champion and reigning world champion. So with all that experience, with all that silverware and medals, I suppose, in the background, came a massive amount of expectations. And it really got off to the worst possible start with word of the drug test failures and everything else. And it just went from there. None of the fighters covered themselves in glory, and I think it's fair to say none of them really performed at the level that you would wish for with that experience. Now, there were extenuating circumstances. There was the Billy Welsh saga rumbling in the background, and then, of course, everything else fed into that. All things considered, that team came home with no medals and a serious cloud over Irish boxing, which did tend to carry on a little bit longer than we would have hoped. We had Irish IOC members arrested and detained and then fleeing the country. We had all sorts of things going on. And it really did leave a bit of a, for want of a better word, a bit of a skid mark on any impressions or thoughts you may have had around the Olympics. The offshoot, lots of political wranglings going on in the background, lots of fighting and arguing, lots of squabbles, and all but one of that team gone. Whether they're retired, gone professional, or basically just not around anymore. We've got Brendan Irvine, who's back, of course, incredibly in his second Olympics. But the whole rest of the team is new. They've not been to an Olympics, and most of them haven't been to big tournaments before. What will that mean for them? Will it weigh on them? Will it tell? I'm not so sure. I speak to Neil Loughran, the renowned boxing journalist. You'll hear maybe in this episode and in future episodes, as we speak about the inexperience of Paddy Barnes when they sent him to the Beijing Olympics, and there was a big debate, I would say a big argument at times as well, whether he was ready or whether he wasn't. He was being groomed for London, but he was progressing and improving at the rate of knots. They couldn't but send him. They sent him, and he delivered and he performed. Sometimes with inexperience comes an abandon. You don't tend to overthink, you don't tend to overstress, you just go out and you do what you have to do. Another phrase you're going to hear a lot of: control the controllables, which is what they'll do. Now, the draws are in, the times are in. They all know who they're going to face roughly when. Get to that in a few minutes also. My point here is, this is an inexperienced Irish team, but this is a supremely talented team. As per usual, the beginning of an Olympics, it'll fly over the heads of most, if not all, in the country. But as soon as any of these boxers become podium finishers, they come into the medal ranks, that's of course when the media gets interested, that's when the people get interested, and that's when they only then will they start getting the credit they deserve. Let's not wait for that. As I said, get behind them. # green for gold. Let them know you're with them. Let them know you're following them. Let them know that you're watching. You're getting up whatever times. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but let me tell you this, it's worth it. It will be worth it. You can say you were one of the ones. You didn't wait for the glory. You got behind them when it counted. So who better to start us off on our series here than Kurt Walker? He will, of course, be the first one in the ring at about approximately 4 a.m. on Saturday morning against a Spanish opponent who, like himself, was a bronze medal European winner in 2017. Things to know about Kurt: he's a Canal BC fighter. He's from Lisburn, which is about 10 miles from Belfast. It's a population of about 140,000. Canal BC and Lisburn are a proud tradition of producing fighters. It was Lisburn Boxing Club also, of course, provided John Rogers for the Munich 1972 team. Kurt, when he walked through the doors at Canal, was barely 27 kilos, I understand, at 10 years of age. And then when he first walked through those doors, this man was here to greet him. And Jim Russell, the coach at Canal BC, talked to me this morning to tell me a little bit about Kurt and his impact and his importance to the club and the community of Lisburn.
The Olympics weren't going to happen and wasn't going to happen for Kurt and whatever, but it's all worked out the plan now.
It's exciting times for everybody, I suppose, associated with the club. What's the feeling?
Always an excitement, and then Kurt's great too for the club, when he was a kid. Always training hard, even when he comes down to the club and he's not down to the national squad or a high performance, he call in there on Friday or Monday, trains as hard as the rest of them. And
he's quite honest and quite open, and he says it with a cheeky grin. He was boiled when he started first, and it was a bit crazy, but how wild was he, and how long was it before you could see there was something a little bit different, a little bit special there?
It was nearly straight away, to be honest. I think Kurt did about taekwondo, and the wee taekwondo club closed down, and at the time the boxing club was beside us, and he joined us on the Monday night. On the first Saturday I had him on a club show. He cleaned up straight away, and from the offset that was him, he was away.
Yeah, it's been kind of an upward curve ever since. And the one concern, and it's only an outside concern, I suppose, that I have from my point of view, is the rest of the team. I suppose they hit the ground running when the qualifier thing in Paris. They kind of had to, I suppose, the way everything was. But with himself, he's qualified so long ago, and
I think so. There's pressure on them all, even there from yesterday, even for the draw, waiting for the draw. But listen, it's in their own hands now. I think, one fight at a time, and if they get through the first contest, then it's on to just the next one, and I hope they all do well. And if every one of them's a chance of a medal,
Another thing people mightn't be aware of, and this is not your first time around the track either. You've had, of course, the previous John Rogers who went to Munich.
Well, actually, John's a Lisburn lad. Basically, John boxed out at Lisburn Boxing Club.
Ah, okay.
That's where Kurt started in Lisburn, and then we started a wee club, Canal, over the kind of. So our club's only 10 years old,
So it's even better again.
It's just, relatively young club, and been pretty successful, Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing for the town. I think that John was the last. What year was Munich? 72?
72, yeah.
There you go. That's some time. So from 72 till now.
You're on the ground coaching kids, you through everything that's been going on, and what does it mean to the club and to the smaller kids in the town? Is not just to look up to him, but for him to be there, and as you say, he's an ever present. He's
trained the way, and then I have to always tell the kids, well, you never know who's going to walk to the front door, the club, and like we lads are starting at 11 now, and I'd say, look, that could be you there. Just need to knuckle down and train hard. Talking to another coach today, I met up with him this morning for coffee, and we're speaking briefly, and he's good feeling about it. So we've all good feeling, and look, he can go all the way. It just need that wee start.
Now, long-time listeners will also remember that I've been speaking with Kurt a lot on and off over the last couple of years. I got to know him. He was one of my early interviews. He was quite difficult, quite tricky, quite not so media savvy at the time. He now seems to be polished into a fella who just looks like he's been around for forever. He's very comfortable, he's very mature, and I'm happy and glad and lucky, I guess, to have been able to click with him early on. The interview you're going to hear with me here is the night he came home from Minsk with a European gold medal, barely 2 years ago now. It doesn't seem that long ago at all, but he was only in the door, and dare say about to tuck into some food and just chill out. And he took a call from me, and we chatted about the rigours of a tournament fighting and how it weighs on the body, and then just in between days what he's doing when they're not fighting, and just overall give it a little bit of an insight into Kurt Walker himself.
I lost the Irish Championships the first 2 years, and then I won it the third year. And that was my breakdown. I got on the Ireland team, and I actually didn't get on the Ireland team. I got on the Ireland team the year after that, so that was my big break. I've been on it ever since. So 7 years, 8 years. About 15 I came in, and then I went to European Juniors to get beat the first fight, but it was a good experience for me. After that, I won a load of World Youth medals, European Youth medals, and then I just stayed in the senior team right through then. I've been training here every day. I get to see, I get to go to the altitude chamber, train here with John, Damien Martin, Dee Kennedy, everyone, physios everywhere, whenever I want, ice baths. It's a great facility, just shows you, whenever you invest in something, that you get back.
It's kind of something this when we got back to actual Lisburn, the whole team was brilliant, even the ones that lost, the margins were so thin, so it was just great. It was a great atmosphere between the whole team.
This little rivalry that they tried to talk for a while, it wasn't even close.
It was good. It was a good game plan, and just even fitness came through well for me in that fight, especially in third round. He kind of slacked off a bit, and I was able to push it. I have it set now. I'm working well now. We'll have our base, so it's all about building on that now from now.
It's a bit of a cliche. When you're winning, you don't get tired and you don't get sore. Is it the adrenaline carries you through?
It was tough, to be honest with you. That tournament was tough because fighting every second day, and it's just after the fight, you only have a few hours to relax, and you're thinking about weight again. You have to wait the next day. You're sore. I was sore everywhere. I was doing my ice baths, doing all this, and then you wake up the next day. That's your day making weight again, so you don't really get a break. I was so happy to get home and just chill. I don't even know what to do with myself now. I'm just sitting about. My body, I've been making this weight years, so it's hard for me. But I've got when I do it right, it's not that. When I do it right, it's still hard. But it's doable, No, it depends. We kind of have our plans all before we go, so you know what to be doing and what not to be doing, but we will always get reminded as well.
What's your weakness? What's your kryptonite?
Chinese. I do the Chinese every night of the week.
Now you're talking.
And I've done that before. I've had Chinese every night of the week.
You need to get a sponsor.
I know. It's crazy. The guys just I could eat them, and then I would eat fast food. I could eat it 3 times a day and just keep doing that if I wasn't a boxer.
People don't even know the half of what goes into it, and until some of the stuff that people do just to get themselves into the ring, that's the battle in itself.
It really is.
Indeed. When it comes to battling and the qualities and the attributes and the skills and all the depth needed to become a local champion, to become a national champion, and then to go on to be international and eventually Olympic athlete, there's a few coaches on this island who know what it takes, who have been there. They've been right beside fellas and girls as they've coached them and helped them along each step of the way. Ultimately, it will come down to the resilience, to the fortitude, and to the what's in the marrow of each boxer. But Jimmy Halpin is a coach of over 30 years experience. He was with St Saviour's. He's in Dublin Docklands right now. He's been working with boxers like the late, great Darren Sutherland. He's worked with Kelly Harrington. And he is, of course, a coach with Emmett Brennan, who boxes on the small hours of Sunday morning against the Uzbek. And Jimmy spoke to me on Friday night a little bit about Emmett himself, about the attributes, and just about coaching in general and his experience.
As he said, you don't get any gillies in swimming like this, and to test himself against guys of this caliber, you know what I mean? So it's what he wants. If you just go back to the newer fight against the Sweden guy in the box for the qualifier, your man hit Emmett with his head. He hit him twice after the judge called break, and he hit him late, and then he hit him after the bell twice. And in fairness to the commentator, who was a Scotch guy, he turned around and says, "Isn't it a good job that Emmett Brennan is not an actor?" He says, I've seen guys going down in the corner where after being hit after the bell. What I always appreciate about him is what he is. He's an honest fighter. He'll get down to the trenches for you, and what he gives you in the ring is always 100%. He may not box well, but you'll always get the effort. You know that this guy, you can trust this guy to put a performance on. That's the bottom line with Emmett, really, Al, you know?
There's something special about him. He's the ordinary man, and I said it to him about that last round. What were you thinking? Because the ref was clearly going out of his way. You could see it. It was got to the stage where he was doing everything he could to, and then he took the point off him. And I said, because I know what I was doing, but I was leaping around the sitting room. I was like, no! And he just said, look, I knew if I boxed and kept my head.
But the funny part about that was when he came back to the club and we were talking about it, I said, the referee, this and that. He said, waiting on the result of that split decision, even though it was unanimous. He says, I'm telling you now, Jimmy, he says, I was going to pick up that referee and throw him out of the bloody ring. He said, if I'd have lost.
So he wasn't as calm and as he was.
No, he's in a great place mentally. Mentally, he's in a great place. His confidence is sky high. He doesn't care who he fights. That's the thing about him. He wants to test himself against these kind of guys, And in 2015, I went away with Billy Walsh and we went to the Strangia tournament. I couldn't believe the Uzbeks. They got 8 into the final. Now, it was like America and all was there at the time and all these kind of countries. But I couldn't believe the success that they were having with the backhand attacks. So when I came back to the club in 2015, I started working with the lads. And if you watch Emmett throws a lot of backhands, leads with a lot of backhands. A lot of my boxers did, even Kelly before she left. Like I got Kelly in on it as well, like backhand attacks, all that sort of backhand attacks and switches. And this is where you'll see where Emmett was having a lot of success. When Emmett won the 2017 75 kilos, he boxed 3 southpaws on his way to quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. And every one of them is backhand attacks one of the fights, one of the 3 contests. It's just little things that you learn when you're going away to these type of tournaments, Al, you know what I mean?
Having coached again across the board, and you've a number of Olympians, a number of elite champions, to dedicate to be an Olympian, as you say, with Kenny and with people like that, it's most people on Civvy Street can't comprehend it. They've no idea what it takes or what. Can you see those traits early on, or are they a constant work in progress?
But you can definitely spot it. You can definitely spot a kid who has the desire. Like he's courage to burn that lad, you know what I mean? He'll always you'll see him yourself, he'll put in. I think this is going to be a cracking fight. I really fancy him against this guy's Rumetsov or whatever his name is, the Uzbek. I think I fancy him against this guy. each boxer is an individual. You know, you're dealing with different characters with different attitudes and different. It's like if you look at Kenny Egan there last night, the way he explained, even though he had the drink problem, he still had that desire and the determination to fulfill his ambition. There was better technical fighters in the high performance than him, who didn't last, and this is what he pointed out last night. And I thought it was very, very valid, Al, that he pointed that out. That he says, like, I wasn't technically the best boxer in the high performance, but he outlasted an awful lot of the kids who were technically better than him, because they didn't have that desire, that determination, that attitude to tick all the boxes, the lifestyle, all that sort. It's such a demanding sport. What I'll always say to a boxer is, be unpredictable. Do not do the same thing all the time. Do something a little bit extraordinary, something that pull the shots out of the fire. Now, the like of Cattle O'Grady, who only rang me there last week, he was saying, yeah, are you forgetting about me now? He'd hurt you with speed. You know, there'd be so much power in the speed of his punches that you wouldn't see them coming. That he'd knock you out with a jab. Darren would, you know, and that's the thing with Emmett. Emmett was never technically brilliant on his feet. He always had a little problem with his feet when he was a younger kid, and we always had to walk around that. Like you'll never see him dancing around the ring the way the English guy, the GB fella, your man Whittaker and all that sort of thing. You'll see Emmett will walk to his strengths. Emmett will close the guy down, walk him down. And I'm always telling them, take up the space, then punch. Never punch out of range. Take up the space, punch. Do your walk inside. And when you get inside, let the referee drag you out of there. Because that's where your best, that's where you do your best work, is inside. You know, you're not gonna win a fight at middle to long range. You know, this is why I'm delighted with this kind of guy that he's meeting, Rozmetov. This guy, he'll fight a bit. You know, he won't run away from Emmett anyway. I'd rather Emmett be in a fight than be in a technical contest. You know, it suits Emmett better that he's actually fighting. You know.
And when you look at the importance, Emmett's impact and his value and his importance to the club, to the community, how special is it to have a fella, not just an Olympian, but somebody who is Emmett Brennan?
He's absolutely priceless.
And of course, we wish Emmett the very, very best. We get behind him, as I said. #GreenForGold. Let him know you're thinking about him. Let him know your thoughts. Send him your wishes. And thank you, Jimmy, for your time. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to chatting to you as the games progress. Now, as I started to plan this, record it, put it together, lots of different calls, lots of different messages out. Some are coming back at different times than others. And I had planned and hoped to get this out on Friday night, but it didn't happen. So it's now going out on Saturday night. And one of the concerns, and any of the concerns we had about our main man, Kurt Walker, were we needn't have worried. He delivered a performance last night that we could have wished and dreamed for. Yes, I was worried that maybe a spell out of competition and everything that went on in his personal life with just perhaps may have weighed on him and may have affected a performance. Didn't happen. It didn't happen. If anything, I would say it fueled the fire. That fire raged, burned, and he delivered a dominant performance. So big up and props to Kurt Walker for a fantastic performance, a fantastic win, and a brilliant kickstart for the rest of the team. Now, why was I worried? Well, here's the thing. One of the biggest rivalries going into this games, and one seen who was the most likely to push Kurt all the way, was Liverpool slickster Peter McGrail. He's gone. He's gone. He qualified last year at the London event and he went out in the first round to, I would say, somebody who wasn't fancied, wasn't expected to beat him. So that's why I was worried. Now you want a little Brucey bonus. You want a little bit of extra. And I promise over these episodes we're going to go beyond the pale. We're going to look for stuff that not everybody else would think of normally. A fellow who knows all about boxing internationally. He knows all about winning Olympic junior medals. He knows and win about World Junior Championships. He went on to be a unified bantamweight world champion. He's from Belfast, Ryan Burnett. And Ryan chatted to me on Saturday afternoon as he beat a trail through a busy, bustling Belfast city. And I chatted to Ryan about the likely impact of Kurt's win, his performance for the rest of the team, about the rigours of performing in competition. And another topic everybody seems to be talking about is the lack of a crowd and the likely impact on the fighters. How big an impact will that be for the rest of the team, to see him go out not just to win, but to win in the dominant style?
I do. I think the rest of the team will take a breath and go, okay, well, that's the first one done. Do you know what I mean? They'll definitely take an uplift step from it. Definitely.
Big discussion points, Ryan, at the moment, and one of them, I suppose, is the impact or their lack of a crowd.
I don't think so. The reason being, when you're preparing for these fights, you're in the gym and you're sparring. Now, sparring's just as intense as a fight. So these boys are used to performing in the gym with no crowds, sparring. And to be honest, it's a mindset thing. Mm-hmm. And I think if the lads are in the correct mindset, I don't think no crowds being there will affect them at all.
Something that gets overlooked quite a lot is the demands, physical and mental, of tournament boxing. So many fights close to one another. It had a big impact on you in Baku. How tough is it? How exactly how tough can it be on these guys as they're going through their daily routines?
I think it's brutal. I think they changed it just after mine, where they had to have a day's rest in between. But when I was in Baku, I fought 6 days straight. I fought 6 people in 6 days, so that was really tough. I think with a day in between, it might make it a little bit easier, but now they're not using head guards and stuff, which sort of ups the risk a bit. But yeah, fighting so close together, it's because you're going from one opponent to another in such a quick time frame, so it's definitely demanding on the mindset.
So just before I wrap up this first Olympic episode of Ends Well Boxing, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on the schedule for the next few days for the Irish fighters. There'll be plenty across the social media platforms here. Just keep an eye out for us. Don't forget, my hashtag here is green4gold. Hashtag green4gold. Special shout out as well to D-Tag and of course to Junior Thompson tonight. And of course our pal Carly Skelly, who fight on Pat Barrett's Black Flash Promotions card in Manchester tonight. But the schedule as we head across the weekend, Emmett Brennan of course is on the Sunday morning at around about 20 to 1 in the morning. We look at Brendan Irvine. He's at, I believe, Monday morning in the small hours, just around midnight, which is Sunday night going into Monday morning. Michaela Walsh is at 6:30 a.m, I believe, on Monday morning. Aidan Walsh then later on Tuesday morning, 3:30 a.m. Aoife O'Rourke, she's on at 20 past 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And Kelly Harrington is last but not least at 3 a.m. on Friday. That'll all be updated as we go along. We'll let you know who they face as they win, and we'll let you know where the podiums get closer and closer and as the medals get closer. As always, a special shout out and thanks to our sponsors here. Ross, Violent Gentleman, thank you as always. And a special one is of course to Mick and Top Pro Sports, who we've been working with over the last while. If you're looking for any sort of gloves, if you're looking for bags, if you're looking for speedballs, if you're looking for anything like that, wraps, the whole lot, check the link below for Top Pro Sports, top brand here in Ireland. Keep an eye out as well. This is going to be put together into a video. It'll be on the YouTube channel very soon as well. I know I've a face for radio, but gotta take that step forward eventually. That's about it from me and them until then. Thank you for taking time to listen. Please, please, please don't forget the hashtag green4gold. Share it about. Get behind these fighters. This is a huge achievement to be there right now, to be in an Olympics in midst of everything that was going on. But now we're off to a winning start, and now Ireland's greatest Olympic sport gets a chance to start bringing home some more gold, silver, bronze, whatever the case may be, and they can't do it without the backing, the support, the love and the wishes. Who doesn't want to be standing in their sitting room in a couple of days' time with our On the Veen playing, the Irish flag being pulled up over their heads and medals being draped around their necks? Thanks to Jim Russell, thanks to Jimmy Halpin, thanks to Ryan Burnett. Thank you for listening. As I said, please share the episode. Watch out for the next one's coming very soon ahead of the next group set of fights. And no matter what happens, where it happens, how it happens, why it happens or when it happens, don't forget, all's well that ends well.